The Book of Judges describes a period in ancient Israel defined by political breakdown and social instability. Without a central government, different tribes and factions were left to navigate a landscape shaped by whoever held the most influence. During this time, the tribe of Dan was struggling. They were unable to secure the southern coastal territory originally assigned to them, and under pressure from the Amorites, they decided to abandon their designated home to look for territory elsewhere. To find a new home, the tribe sent 5 elite scouts on a journey to the far north. This map shows their route as they traveled nearly 100 miles, searching for a location that would be easier to capture than the fortified coastal plains of the south. The scouts eventually discovered Laish. It was a quiet, agricultural settlement located in a fertile valley, notably far from any major cities or allies who could come to its defense. Archaeological remains from this era, like these low-stacked stone foundations, reveal the vulnerability of places like Laish. These settlements lacked the massive walls and defensive towers found in larger regional powers, making them highly susceptible to a sudden arrival of armed forces. By walking away from their assigned borders to find a softer target, the Danites moved outside of the tribal community and the original plan for their inheritance. This geographic shift left them isolated, creating the conditions for the tribe to eventually abandon their traditional laws. Following the scouts' report, 600 Danite warriors mobilized for war. They began a long, tactical march toward the north, moving as a disciplined military unit with a specific destination in mind. Along the way, the army detoured into the hill country of Ephraim. They stopped specifically at the home of a man named Micah, who had established his own private sanctuary. While the soldiers guarded the entrance, the 5 scouts entered Micah's house and seized his silver idols. This wasn't a random theft. They were intentionally collecting the physical components they needed to establish their own religious center. The schematic shows the 2 assets the Danites extracted from the house, the idols and Micah's personal priest. This priest was a descendant of Moses, and he agreed to join the Danites when they offered him a higher-ranking position serving the entire tribe. Stealing a priest and sacred objects marked a transition for the Danites. They were no longer just a displaced military force. They were now a tribe traveling with their own self-appointed religious leadership and stolen icons. When Micah discovered his emptied sanctuary, he gathered neighbors and chased the Danites. This visualization shows the scale of the confrontation. Micah's small group stood no chance against 600 trained warriors. The Danites responded to Micah's protest with a direct threat. They warned him that if he continued to follow them, some of the soldiers would lose their tempers and kill him and his family. Micah looked at the soldiers, realized he was outnumbered, and turned back toward his home. He had no legal or military recourse to get his property back. This encounter demonstrated that the Danite tribe was now operating purely on the basis of military power. They had moved away from the ethical laws of the covenant, replacing them with a system where whoever had the most weapons decided what was right. The Danite army eventually reached the northern valley and surrounded the city of Laish. The inhabitants, who had lived in peace and security, were unprepared for a military siege. The Danite forces moved through the city without resistance, killing the inhabitants and burning the settlement to the ground. Within a short time, the peaceful town was destroyed. After the fire, the Danites rebuilt the city on the same site. They claimed it as their own and renamed the new settlement Dan after their tribal ancestor. To make the city their own, they installed the silver idols they had stolen from Micah. This mud brick archway at the site reflects the permanent nature of the new city, a place that was now a fortified center for their own tribal religion. They formalized this system by making the priesthood a hereditary position within one family, specifically the descendants of Jonathan, the grandson of Moses. This created a religious hierarchy that operated independently of the laws given to the rest of Israel. This map shows the resulting religious divide. While the true house of God remained at Shiloh in the south, the city of Dan became a competing sanctuary in the far north, housing a different set of idols and a different priesthood. This move north began as a search for an easier life, but ended in the establishment of a religious system that would influence the region for centuries. The decision to abandon their intended borders eventually contributed to a spiritual decline that lasted until the tribe was finally taken into captivity.